Every guy says they want an amazing marriage, but most never really define what that even means. And when they do, a lot of these ideas don't actually work in real life. Daniel and I have been blessed, respectively, with A-plus marriages, not because we've had it all figured out, because we've learned what actually makes a marriage thrive. So today we want to share what we've seen work, not just in our own marriages, but in the ones that actually last. Let's get into it. Daniel,
yes.
What makes an A-plus marriage? And I'm asking because I have a lot of respect for your marriage. Your marriage is an A+.
Yeah.
I think my marriage is A+, but I really want to hear what you think in terms of what makes an A+ marriage.
So I was thinking about this, and it was hard.
Okay.
It's like such a wide, varied thing,
Sure.
and so subjective that
Sure.
I was just thinking how to narrow it down, and I narrowed it down to 3 things.
Okay. I got 3 things.
You got 3 things
I
too.
got 3 things
Okay,
too.
so let's go back and forth.
I'm curious how much we overlap, but
I'm sure it'll overlap a lot, but I'm sure it'll actually be different. But the first one is you can cohabitate together. You can exist together without killing each other. So I'm sure you've had this experience. You meet someone and you're like, wow, they're such a nice, kind, sweet person.
Sure.
And then you see them talk to their husband or wife and you're like, wow, where did that come from?
Yeah.
You've seen that before? I see that all the time.
yeah.
And there's just something that happens between 2 people when they live together for a long time. It can be difficult, and I'm sure people can relate by having roommates. Sometimes It's really tough. So
Sure.
I feel like at the very bottom, the very basic is your ability to cohabitate with each other. And that includes a lot of stuff like trust and communication and conflict resolution and stuff like that. But
Right.
that's my first one,
Right.
able to cohabitate with each other.
That's interesting because my first one was peace in the home.
Peace in the, okay. So we're on the right track.
So I speak this from a perspective of like my wife and I, when we first we've been married 11 years now. And my wife and I, first 3 years, we used to fight all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like bad fights. And I thought fights were normative,
Yeah.
which, they are to some extent, but we like really put in the work. And I think right before we had our first kid, I was like, I want to go into marriage. I want to go into parenting with a stronger marriage, not a weaker one. So we got a counselor.
Man, good for you.
And we did the work. And
Yeah.
since having the first kid, like our marriage has been like just next levels. And part of the byproduct of that is we fight less.
Yeah.
And we're actually reflecting on this last calendar year.
Yeah.
And this is not a boast, but we're like, I don't remember fighting with you this whole year.
Amazing.
Isn't that wild?
That's awesome.
Like there's annoyances or like stuff like that, but like in terms of like actual argument
Yeah.
or like deep apology or damage control that needs to happen, like we didn't have a single fight
Yeah.
last year.
Congratulations.
And
that's great.
The absence of absence of fight often, as you're probably aware, is sometimes indication of like, well, you have 2 people that are just resigned and they don't actually communicate.
Yeah.
Like it's not that in our case. Like
Yeah.
we live and do life
Sure.
and it's really fun. There's peace in the home. And I think that's a great marker of an A+ marriage. So that doesn't mean that fights necessarily mean that you don't have an A+ marriage, but I think definitely a movement towards peace is a strong indication.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, I completely agree. I think that disagreements are unavoidable.
Sure.
But fights are avoidable.
Yeah.
Because some people say fights are normal. No, I would say fights aren't normal.
Because disagreements are intellectual.
Yeah.
But fights are personal, emotional, spiritual in nature.
Exactly. If you think about a fight, a physical fight, you're hurting the other person, and
Correct.
your intention is to hurt the other.
You're in a different team in a fight.
Exactly.
Right.
You're in opposition to each other, and you see that person as the enemy.
Yeah.
And you never want to see your partner as the enemy.
No, this one is bad.
Yeah. So I think fights aren't good, and so I guess the question I had is, not fighting is so hard, right?
Okay.
You talk about the first 3 years fighting all the
Sure.
time, and you said you put in work. Like, can you name like 1 or 2 things? What's the secret sauce to not fighting for you guys? For everyone's different. For you guys,
For us, it was a journey of like emotional ownership. Like a lot of couples I mean, we were definitely guilty of it, but like when things go wrong, I'm gonna tend to blame you for my reaction.
Yeah.
You know, because we both will feel emotions about something. But a big journey for us was like, I feel an emotion, and I'm responsible for how I act on this emotion, and it's not necessarily I can't take that out on my partner. Everything I say or how I say it is I'm responsible for. So if the moment I start owning my emotions and in love wrap it and dialogue from that perspective, that was a huge shift for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So ownership, but also reframing the way that you say things.
That's a big one, yeah.
Because fights happen, I think most of the time, not intentionally. Like I'm not intentionally saying something, but there is the perceived, like most
people are clumsy with their words.
There's like a perceived like emotional jab. And then we're launched into a fight at that point.
Correct.
But if you can reframe something, we can avoid a lot of those. And so is that sort of what you did?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably 10 other things.
Okay, sure. There's a lot of things. That's why I said just maybe a little bit, but I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that you've done, right?
So your first one is cohabitating. Mine is peace in the home.
Can I tell you one story about the last fight me and Jessica ever had?
What year was this?
This was before we were married, actually.
This is the last fight we had?
We only had 2 fights.
I had a good story.
We only had 2 fights. And this last fight was the nail in the coffin to all the fights. We never had a fight after that.
Okay.
So my friends just got married, and then her dad passed away. Okay. And so it's a very tragic thing, and we were helping plan the dad's funeral, right, and make all the arrangements. So I dropped Jess off at her aunt's place, and then my friend picked me up to go to their house, which was like far away, like Redondo Beach or something. And so we're planning this thing, and Jess is like, come pick me up, I want to leave, right? And I'm like, I can't, I didn't drive here, I need to wait for us to go, and then I can pick you up. Okay. And then so by the time I picked her up, she was really mad, right? And so we were in it, and she was just giving it to me, right? And then through some divine wisdom, I felt like I wasn't supposed to say anything.
Let's go.
I was not supposed to defend myself. Yeah. In my mind, I was like, hey, she can't say this to me. I didn't do anything wrong. It's not my fault, right? She does not deserve to do, I don't deserve this, right? Wow. She has no right. But I didn't say anything. Wow. And we drove home. She was giving it to me all night. I didn't say I'm sorry because it wasn't my fault, but right when we got home, she's like, I'm not going to sleep in the bed with you. Oh, we were married at the time. Sorry, we were married.
Okay.
I'm not
slightly better.
I'm not going to sleep in the bed with you. Okay. I'm going to sleep on the couch, right? I'm like, come on, just sleep in the bed. It's not comfortable on the couch. But she said, no, I'm going to sleep on the couch. I was like, okay, I'm just going to sleep next to you on the ground, right? And you sleep on the couch. And we woke up the next morning, and she's like, I can't believe I did that to you. I was so mean to you, and you were so nice. I'm never going to do that again. And she never did. And so that was the last fight we ever had. And so when I talk about cohabitating together, it's like, is that the type of person you're with that can move towards something like that? Yeah. And so I give her all the credit in the world for that. That's to amazing. Change. That's amazing. After one thing. You know, yours took years and a lot of work. Yeah. Mine, it was just this one thing that happened.
I needed that recipe.
I don't think anything's better or worse. I think your story is very beautiful, right?
Sure.
But that's just the way it happened, and I think we both sort of arrived at the same place, a peaceful house.
That's
and
amazing.
It's such a huge blessing.
Amazing.
Right?
Amazing. Yeah. All right, what's next on your list for A+ marriage?
All right, my next one is, so if you cohabitate, there's the possibility to become roommates. Okay. And that's just, I would say, death in a marriage.
Okay.
You want to be sexually attracted and having a healthy sex life with your husband or wife. So that's part 2. Cheers to that. Yes. Is that your second one?
No, it's not.
Okay.
I didn't put that for some reason.
Okay.
Even though we have a great sex life. But,
okay.
But tell me more. Why is that part of the A+ marriage package?
So I've seen people cohabitate really well.
Sure.
And they function well in the sense that
it's business.
They get along. Yeah, but but then they feel like roommates.
Yeah.
And that tears people up. They're like, we're just roommates.
Yeah, they're functional.
Yeah, it's functional, but it doesn't feel like a marriage. And something in us tells us that's not right.
Yeah.
Right? And so I feel like that's a very important piece in having an A+ marriage. If you don't have that, I would say that's what you need.
Yeah.
That's a missing ingredient.
You know, I actually realized my second one is really similar.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
The second one is called, I said, is constant pursuit. Right.
Okay.
We
Tell
talked
me.
about this in the class I did,
Yeah.
which is like, I feel that a lot of people arrive at marriage and then for some reason or another, they just kind of give up.
Yeah.
Not give up, but like, I got the girl, I got the guy.
Yeah.
You know, before marriage, like you like put on your best, you like think about what the other person's thinking, you know, and you like go on a date, you go to a nice place, and then marriage happens and you become content and you start doing the easy things, you know, you just go to dates in your sweats. Not that there's anything wrong with that, you know, but there's this sense, there's nothing wrong with it, but there's a sense in which there's something beautiful when the husband and wife don't stop trying to impress each other. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So my wife and I, we have 5 kids now, and it's like when we go on dates,
it's a lot of sex. Or you got some strong swimmers. Okay. Anyways, you go on dates.
Yeah, we go on dates, and it's like amazing when I see her like getting dressed and like trying to put her best self together, and I go, I want to put my best self together. I want to look like, handsome for you too. And it's just, I mean, that's just a microcosm of a myriad of things we do to try to pursue each other and try to get to know each other still. You know, so I think that's really key in A+ marriage. You know,
I feel like it is very related because I think it's that same sort of feeling, right? Like you want to feel pursued, adored, like wow, that's my, husband, that's my wife.
Because sex is in some sense an apex event after chasing and seeking, right? It's like you get, you pursue, you chase, and you play hard to get, and then like you give in, and then sex happens, and it's the final chapter of the chase. And in some sense, the absence of sex almost reveals the lack of chase. Yeah. Do you think that's a fair statement?
I do, and I think it's so easy for people to fall in. I feel like I fell into that before. Not the lack of sex, but the lack of pursuit. Yeah. And I think maybe more as men, we get focused on certain things. Yeah. And we think, this is what I thought, oh, my marriage is great. It's fine. Yeah. I'm going to pursue this other thing, right? And put all my time and energy into that. And then little did I know, my marriage was like slowly deteriorating. And she's just kind of there and she feels it. And so it kind of came to a point where she just was honest and she just let it all out. She's like, I feel like all these negative, I feel alone. I feel, like you're not interested in all of this stuff. And then to your point, I was like, I need to really just pursue her forever. It's not like it's going to be good and I'm done. Yeah. But I think it's a beautiful thing. And that's what I feel like really builds your marriage over and over. And you become so connected and resistant to like a lot of the negative stuff.
Yeah, something that's resonated with me is love is not a place, it's a pace. It's a pace at which you pursue.
Hashtag. Yeah, bumper sticker.
A bumper sticker.
Yeah.
It's not a place you arrive at.
Yeah.
The evidence of love is like, I've arrived at love. The moment you think you've arrived at love, you fall out of it. Yeah. Love is the pace at which you pursue somebody. It's the velocity. It's the acceleration.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
What's number 3?
Number 3, you go first.
All right.
Yours. Number 3.
I think A+ marriage it's fun as hell.
Okay, ours are very different.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Fun as hell. No, but that's important. Fun as hell.
Yeah, fun
that
as
is
hell.
Very important.
I think fun is a symptom of a close friendship. So my idea of marriage is that marriage at its core is a deep spiritual friendship. And there's a sense, there's sex, there's love, there's pursuit, but at the base that holds all of this is a deep, satisfying spiritual friendship. And in friendship, there's a lot of fun. There's things that we really enjoy and delight in each other. And so my wife and I have a lot of fun, even after many kids. Like, we'll say the stupidest inside jokes that nobody will understand. We'll just be like rolling on the floor laughing. I know how to make her like giggle and cackle. And it's like, that's such a good sign, especially since obviously now that you know that I have 5 kids, like
Yeah.
stress levels are also really high.
Sure.
And if you just have pressure and you just have
Yeah.
stress, you don't have fun and play.
Yeah.
It starts kind of falling apart and crumbling. You start
Yeah.
turning, but the fun and the play, I think is really critical in A+ marriage to add some levity in life,
Yeah.
add some enjoyment. You know, you can't play all the time, but it's like really important. Those
Yeah.
moments really matter. What do you
Okay.
think about that?
So let me ask you,
Yeah.
do you are a fun person.
Okay.
And I think your wife's a fun person too.
Okay.
There are people that aren't fun in this world.
Name names?
No shade to them.
Sure.
I know a guy named Timmy, not a very fun guy. But what if you're just not, fun? Like, what if you're not humorous? What if you don't have that we're rolling on the floor laughing inside joke thing? Can you still have an A+ marriage if you're just not like that? Because I don't think necessarily fun is an attribute that everybody has. And I don't necessarily think it's a virtue. I don't think it's like, oh, you're great because you're fun.
Sure.
It's a strength, but so is this you guys or is this universal? Everybody should be having fun. And if you don't have A+ marriage.
I think everyone should have a little fun. I think
Yeah.
what people's fun looks like is different than our fun. You know?
Yeah.
There's people that really enjoy playing board games with each other. I don't really enjoy playing with
I know
people.
Timmy, my friend Timmy loves board games.
He keeps asking about that. But like everyone should do there's something that drew you to this person.
Yeah.
That you found that you had common
Yeah.
pursuit and activity with.
Mhm.
What were those
Yeah.
things? And I bet you if you did those in marriage with a different twist,
Mm-hmm.
you would rediscover something
Yeah.
that was fun, and it doesn't look like the way that I have fun with my wife.
Okay.
Right?
Let me paint a picture. Paint a
Yeah.
picture for you.
Paint it.
And I feel like this is out there,
Okay.
right? Like the alpha, go get it, stoic male,
Okay.
right?
Sure.
And the quiet, submissive, traditional homemaker
Okay.
wife,
Sure.
right? I feel like that archetype is out there,
Sure.
and I'm looking at that and I'm like, that doesn't sound like fun to me, right? It's like they're both sort of fulfilling roles that each other need and they're just coming together.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, they're rolling on the floor laughing and inside jokes.
Sure.
So would you say that is suboptimal?
You have to roll on the floor at least 2 times
Okay.
a day in order to be A+ marriage.
Okay. All right. So it's universal.
No.
Okay.
I think some level of common enjoyment I think is really important.
Okay.
In friendship, in
Okay.
marriage.
Yeah.
I want to hear your third one.
Okay. My third one is you're greater than the sum of your parts. So together you can go farther than you could alone by
That's
yourself.
beautiful. I agree with this.
Yeah.
This is dead on.
So I have found in my life that I wouldn't have the courage, I wouldn't have like the person watching my back, I wouldn't have the person telling me and correcting me certain things. I wouldn't have someone cheerleading me to do the things that I've done if it wasn't for my wife.
Sure.
So I feel like the single people out there are somewhat flying solo, but I'm in this jet with another person watching for the missiles that are coming at me. So
beautiful.
I feel like more than the sum of your parts.
100%.
Yeah, you agree with that?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you and your wife are like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think like as a man that's generally kind of confident,
Yeah.
one of the pitfalls that I have is thinking I can do everything myself.
Yeah.
Without realizing then you live in life and then there's like things that my wife says or does that like I would never have thought or said that.
Yeah.
And in 13 like in
Yeah.
many lives I would never think that.
Yeah.
And it's exactly what I needed to hear. You know?
Yeah.
Um,
I often joke with our friend, we have a friend Brandon,
okay.
and then we say, hey, if we weren't married, we would be living in like a 1-bedroom apartment, no minimal furniture. I'd be eating like the same thing every day, but I would be going hard. I would be like, I would be working and that's it.
Yeah.
We would never take a vacation. We would never take a vacation.
Yeah.
And so really it's our wives that take us on vacations, and maybe I'm less successful than I would have been.
Sure.
But I'm telling you, I would be miserable.
Your life is full.
Yeah. I would maybe be richer monetarily, but right now I'm like the richest man in the world because of my wife.
You'd be poor in the wrong ways.
Yeah, I would be definitely poor in the wrong way. So, when it comes to more than the sum of your parts, part of it is like what you can achieve.
Sure.
But part of it is just what do you have in life that's beautiful that money can't buy.
Amen.
So, yeah, I feel like that's a big part.
Amen.
I would say that's like, for me, it goes in tiers. It's like you need the cohabitation, and then on top of that,
they build on top of each other.
Yeah, exactly. And at the end of the day, if you're more than the sum of your parts, it's because all those other things are functioning well, and you can't reach the next level if you don't have the first level. So
well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
Hey, it just came out like that. I didn't plan it, but that's my definition of A+ marriage.
I like it.
Cheers,
yeah,
bro.
Trendsetter. Whoa, league of my own, it don't get better. No, read what I wrote, I'm a bestseller. Yeah, reach for my goals, hit it dead center.